Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Robert Spetty here once again with WesternPacificWeather.com. It is still the 26th of May 2011, right around 2100 Japan Standard Time. That's about 2000 Philippine time here. And we're continuing to watch now Super Typhoon Songda out here, or Chedeng here, moving off towards the northwest at approximately 8 knots right now. Starting to make that northerly turn much more prevalent right now here. Actually, in the last several frames right in here, you can start to really see that here. Pagasa actually finally catching on with the other warnings here, also warning on this and having it heading north with no landfall over northeast Luzon. Still expecting the outer rain bands skirted here along the eastern portions of the island though, and could see some high winds. Signal Force 1 already warned up here for much of the areas along the coast here, and even Signal Force 2 in some other areas there as well. So seeing some high winds throughout the regions there, some heavy rain showers associated with the outer rain bands here. But just noting actually some of the warnings here encompass much of the coastal regions here, but they really only just warn on winds. They really don't take into account for storm surge, which really could definitely happen here, especially along the northeastern coast of Luzon here, specifically around Apari. As this system moves by here, a lot of the winds coming in from the east here towards the west could bring up a slight storm surge along the coastal areas here. So some of these low-lying areas definitely could feel the effects here. Already past much of a science here right now as this system really intensified up here in the last 6 hours, all with the Super Typhoon strength here. Actually, JTWC saying winds are right around 130, gusting up to 160 knots. That's on a 1 minute average. JMA actually down to about 105 knots, but that's on a 3-minute average, but still both on their classifications have this at Super Typhoon. So just noting, first Super Typhoon of the season, the equivalent of about a Category 3 hurricane, and it's forecasted to make it all the way up to a Category 5 hurricane, the equivalent of here in the forecast, especially up farther to the north in Luzon Strait here. So a very strong, intense system here, so definitely don't count out the effects of storm surge, even though it is off the coast here. Could see some slight levels rose up here, and also seeing some of these higher rain bands popping up here along the Manila metropolitan area. Particular here, I actually just kind of highlighting it right in here. All these high cloud tops right in here, indicated by that bright white on the IR imagery here, indication of some very strong thunderstorms out here in this region as this is passing off to the east. And as mentioned on my last update here, the threat of some strong winds associated with these thunderstorms, and even the possibility of a tornadic threat, still exists here across the entire island of Luzon as this passes off to the east here. And you could see some, especially in the afternoon, the evening hours, specifically by tomorrow on northern Luzon, could see some enhanced thunderstorms out here. So definitely watch out for that threat, even though the storm is off the coast. Still expecting a lot of heavy precipitation and widespread flooding throughout the area here. I know Manila really geared up for this, but definitely in some of the more remote areas up here to the north could see that flooding. Also, the potential for mudslides is fairly high. A lot of the ground is still soaked from the last tropical storm that just occurred about 2 weeks ago. Tropical Storm Ari, or Babing out here, just occurred just recently, and the ground is already soaked. So just one thing to note, the threat of mudslides in some of these remote areas up in the highlands here is very high. But here, just showing Pagasa's warning on here for everybody in the Philippines here, still remains well off the coast here. And Pagasa actually earlier today by this morning was having it make a landfall, but finally, I think they finally got a little more confidence in the fact that this track is going to go a little bit to the north here, north-northwest actually, and then start to recurve out towards the Ryukyu Islands of Japan here in by the 28th into the 29th. So really good news that they're taking off that landfall. Still 9 provinces out here on the eastern portion and much of Luzon still in Signal Force 1 here, so just those high winds, and I was already noting that's strong possibility for that heavy pre. Now first I want to actually get into some of the new model runs here. A lot of the models are starting to take the track a little bit to the west here. Definitely going to be seeing the CPA of Okinawa, or the closest approach of Okinawa, on the right front quadrant of this storm. So really JTWC and most of the models really confirming that up here. JMA actually still taking it to the east here, but JTWC recurving it a little bit earlier than most of the models here. And I have to go with JTWC because not just basing solely on the models here, but also an upper level ridge that's setting up over Honshu here actually shown on the streamline analysis, with the ridge located over northern Honshu here. So likely this is going to follow this path right in here and kind of go southeast of Honshu before run out to the east here. The other possible scenario here, in which many of the models are picking up on, and that's the reason why there's always that cone of air here on many of the warnings, is this riding up here and basically going off towards the northwest here over basically Kyushu, Shikoku, and then heading out into the Sea of Japan here, just following this overall background flow. So it could go west of the Japanese Alps here. So basically all of Japan under the gun here, and even parts of southern Korea could see some of these outer rain bands here if it does take this path right in here. Still very high confidence of this making landfall in Okinawa here on the 28th into the 29th, but definitely either these two paths here with this ridge setting up over Honshu here could go off towards the east here, just southeast of Honshu, or basically run over Kyushu and over basically southern Honshu here before moving on to the Sea of Japan. So something I want to closely watch. This is a new development here, and most of the models have really been picking up on the southerly run here, but something you could see basically the warning starting to shift off. But as for now, here's JTWC's warning, the 06 Zulu warning, showing a closest approach to Okinawa at approximately 10 nautical miles on the evening of the 28th here, showing basically this making to the west of the island, so that would make that the island in the right front quadrant if it took this exact track right in here, which would be the worst possible scenario, because that right front quadrant is the area of the highest winds and most of the destructive weather is associated with the right front quadrant here. Storm surge on the southern part of the island, definitely going to see the highest surge if it does take this path. Noting if it goes slightly to the east here, the northern part of the island and much of the east coast could see some of the higher storm surge here, and vice versa if it goes farther out to the east here, basically the southern part of the island would see most of it. So just something to note, we're just watching this and seeing how it wobbles on the way up here. JTWC still has the cone of air all the way out here into the Sea of Japan, all the way down towards basically just north of Iowa Toe here, so a pretty wide cone of air, and still several days to watch it here as those models flip-flop back and forth and that ridge sets up Honshu up here. But according to JTWC, JMA and Pagasa, really high confidence is not going to make landfall in Luzon here. JMA really just taking it just slightly to the east of Okinawa here, so slightly off what JTWC is saying, but really still the high confidence in the fact that it is going to see some high winds over much of the Ryukyu Islands here. Also noting in the very long range out to the 30th and to the 31st, JMA also showing the storm making its approach of Honshu here to the southeast and really not making any landfall here as opposed to many of the models here. So they're really kind of going on that southerly track to the south of that upper level ridge to the north and over northern Honshu here. So going to continue to watch it here. This update's just kind of a late night informer here for many of the people out here that are closely watching this storm. So just continue to update us here at westernpacificweather.com if you have any observations on the ground here in Luzon. I know some widespread precipitation. I already had some reports of some heavy thunderstorms down there, but also if you have any videos that you're uploading to YouTube, really would like to collaborate and try to share those on these updates as well. So thanks again for listening, everybody. Continue to watch the storm, and by tomorrow we'll have another update, so just stay tuned for that. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as usual, you can post them in the comment box below or at westernpacificweather.com, and also posting this at storm2k.org. Plenty of meteorological discussion going on there about this typhoon as well. So thanks again for listening, everybody. Have a great day.